Hi guys, my name is Rimchim. So welcome back to our YouTube channel, which is Art Pop Design Studio. You can follow us on our Instagram and everything. And as you can see by the title, today we'll be talking about NID studio test pertaining to bachelor program only, because I've been getting a lot of requests of, ma'am, please make a video on what happens in studio tests, what's the marking scheme, how do they conduct it, what are they looking for. And since myself I have given the NID studio test, I would love to share last year's experience of NID studio test, my experience of NID studio test, and we'll talk about over the years what kind of exercises have come in. And I hope this video will make your anxiety level a little less. And so let's get started. Okay, so for bachelors, for DAT mains or NID studio tests, you need to understand that the weightage for it is 60%, and whatever you did in the prelims, it's 40%. So now whatever has happened. You have qualified the first round, which means you have cleared the cutoff in whichever category you are in, and now you will be moving on to the studio test, which is primarily the most important thing to make your rank, because the weightage is super high. So never assume that okay, it's second round, it will be like less weightage. And no, it's a really high weightage main, and that's why it's called main. So here I'm informing you that it's a 60 percent weightage. Now, a studio test over the years for bachelor program has included the following things. Number one, there has been doodling exercises where they will give you few empty boxes and with lines and all, and you will have to complete the sketches on some themes. Maybe you can add a storyboard there, products around you. You can make something which is socially relevant, environmentally relevant. I'll make sure I'll add few questions here so that you are very clear on what do they mean by doodling exercises, which is to complete a incomplete image that they have given, or just to know what psychologically, what do you doodle, how's your skill like, what's your behavior and brain and creative thinking. So this is what happens in doodling exercises mostly. Second thing which has come in NID studio test in the past years is clay modeling. So definitely they'll give you a clay, they might give you sandpaper or paper cutter, or from the materials you are bringing you will have to create some structure like a cup holder or basically a furniture. It could be any kind of thing. So material skill is something which is very important when you are working as a designer. Also, you need to create prototypes. So clay modeling is something you should definitely work on, where you can learn a lot of textures you can make on clay from the stationery you have, or to make shapes from clay like a cone or a pyramid or these kinds of things. And definitely making structures or more intricate animals maybe, or some kind of products from clay is something you can work for. Third thing, 3D model making. We know studio test, it's something where you will be making things in 3D, because after the first round, which was completely in 2D, you will shift to giving a shape and form to the things that you were thinking or designing before. So 3D model making is similar to situation test, where you are given some kind of a brief that to make a bag or a purse or make a cup holder or make a toy and a game design. It could be anything related to design, or any topic which would reflect how you are designing, how you are thinking, how you are ideating. And again, in that, the whole process should be there of design, where you are brainstorming, what you are making, why you are making. And the materials that are provided would be maybe pins, rubber bands, straws, some kind of waste materials from which you can create a 3D structure that would depict your design perfectly. So That's the third thing that you should definitely study for. Fourth thing, wire molding. Yes, in a lot of materials we try to work with wire, which are thin wires. If you want to give something a structure, you want to make an installation, a functional model, so those thin wires are there on which you can wrap aluminium foil or something and give it a structure, or from wire itself if you can make some model, that would be great. So that is there. uh, Story illustration, yes, a lot of times storyboarding, writing a story based on an image, completing a story which is given, which is half, and then writing stories on panchatantra or mythology, or taking inspiration from those and doing storyboarding is important. Storyboarding has been the perfect example where you can understand the creativity of a person, communication skills of a person, ideation of a person. So storyboarding is something you should definitely work on, and it's illustration as well, because so many times we can think of a very nice and a cool story, but it would be difficult to present it into frames. So do a lot of storyboarding, character sketches, or how to make your story come up with some kind of morals or some humor that can attract the attention of the checker. And definitely coloring and these kind of things will help in story illustration. So before last year, there used to be happen personal interviews and portfolio rounds for NID studio test, but from last year we are not seeing that. So I would not recommend anyone to go into portfolio making and these kinds of things. Of course, if you are applying for private colleges and all, or for your own self, you can make your portfolio, but they have not mentioned from last year that there will be a separate portfolio interview session that will happen for the bachelor program, because definitely the seats have increased. From my time, I gave a portfolio round and interview round. But yes, if you have few sketches, then few things, you can definitely carry them with you in your bag and keep them outside in case that is asked. But I don't think that will be asked, because I will share now what happened last year, question by question and hour by hour. So that okay, this was the structure last year, so that it becomes easy for you in the end of the video. Right now, just understand that even if it's personal interview, portfolio round, which is not gonna happen for bachelor program this year for NID at all. It didn't happen last year for NID at all. It was similar structure of how NIFT situation test is, where for an hour you are in a center. I mean, for a limited time, 3 hours, you are in a center and you are given questions. You have to work there. You are given materials. You are working there hands on, and you come back to your home. It's not going to be like that you will be in an interview session or something like that. You also have to understand that why NID studio test is important for you, because if you don't know what they are looking for, the way you will be working will be completely in a clueless direction. So understand that when a person gives a written exam, there are a lot of constraints. No one can judge you based on the written exam you are doing. But when you have a practical exam, or where you have to perform on the spot and you have to create few things, and then definitely it bridges the gap between the first part and the second part. So first of all, you have to be really creative and unique. Do not make something that's already existing, because then there's no point of conducting the design exam. So try to go full out and do things that really excite you, that shows your interest in designing. Okay, you have studied about sustainable design. Oh, you know about product innovations and you are trying to add those things. Oh, you are aware about environment and how these things affect you. Oh, you know about Indian handicrafts and how you can include them in your design. So a lot of theoretical and subjective knowledge is what you should look for, and definitely put it in your work as much as possible, so that it can reflect that you are so much interested into going into the college. you should definitely use the full opportunity of working creatively and freely in this kind of tests, because the breaking the limitations is what actually makes you a good designer, where you can think of the future, you know the past, you know the present, and then you're working towards your doodling exercises or sketching or model making, anything. Just understand the core is gonna be design. It's not going to be how beautiful your model is looking or how prettily you have sketched the question. It's definitely will come down to what kind of designing or design thinking you used. Of course, anyone who has given an ID studio test will say that no, there is no fixed pattern. But like I was discussing with you earlier, that there's doodling is something which is coming every year. Sketching, live sketching, or something that comes every year. And similarly, there's this audio visual round that is happening. Last year there was audio round. Before that, there has been visual round. So basically, in audio rounds, they make you hear few sounds, and there will be a list of questions which you will have to answer. They can be animal sounds, product sounds around you, maybe sounds of few animals or birds that you usually hear, or clicking of keys on the keyboard, or maybe it could be some introduction sounds of apps, or OTT platforms like Netflix. So basically, some audio kind of round where your presence of mind is checked. And similarly for visuals, like for me, in my visual round, there were set of footwears which were shown, and I had to write down if it is a loafer, if it is a boot. Similarly, they can show you some zoomed in images of few products of your daily life that you have to recognize. So yeah, audio visual round is something that happens more often, and last year audio round definitely happened. Group activities used to happen earlier, where you had to do some theater kind of a round, or a group discussion kind of round, where some current affair topic would be given. So I would definitely suggest you to, any which ways, it's important to know the current thing happening in India and the world that would affect design, or that would affect our environment, and just brush through these things. And yeah, another tips to prepare for the exam would be that have a good level of confidence. Make sure you are reading a lot of creative books to increase your thinking patterns. Always make sure that you are in touch with people who have given the exam previously, who are studying in the college, because they come and give you really in-depth tips that no coaching or no institute can give you, because you can never be sure where it's coming from. So once it's coming from the direct source is always good. You can read books like The Design for Everyday Things by Don Norman, Universal Principle of Design by William Lidwell, Creative Confidence by Tom Kelly and David Kelly, Emotional Design by Don Norman. Again, you can see some movies on design, which is abstract art. It's available on Netflix, 2 seasons, and even on YouTube. So try to increase those things. Also, work on your sketching skills, your doodling skills, and ensure that you are able to sketch and doodle really quickly. Get at least your basics clear of design theory, color theory, elements of design, principles of design, color psychology, these kinds of topics, isometric view, product design, some basics, so that you are typography, font, so you are not very vague, or you have no clue about anything. So just make sure you are reading these things. Okay, now coming to experience of last year NID studio test of one of my students, which happened at one of these centers. So first thing, they were given a black bag in which there was a product given. You had to touch that product and then you had to write down, or you had to sketch basically the product that you would feel, and the product they were given was a bulb holder. Now another question they were given was, there was an image given based on which they had to complete the story and write the whole story. There was also audio round where they were made to listen to music's sounds of material explorations, or how materials basically work in industries and these kinds of things. So maybe like a water splash, or sometimes it could be cutting some wood, audio it could be. So a lot of audios were there, and to definitely check the aspect of your mental attentiveness. And there was definitely then the material handling 3D model test that he was required to do, in which he had to make a holder for a cup. Basically the question was given that you have to design a cup holder from the materials which were given, and the materials which were given was clay, a thumb pin, and some these kinds of things. So this is what happened last year in one of the NID studio tests. Another few questions which have come in NID studio tests are that you have to make a model which can move forward in water, like which can move forward in water from the materials which was given. Now it's your choice. You want to make a boat, you want to make whatever, something which is rotating and still can float. So basically you have to make a model which can float on water. For me, I had to make a piece of sitting furniture, something, either it's a sofa or a stool. From the material I was given was a rin, a soap, and a cutter, and sandpaper to mold it and cut it. So yes, from the rin soap I had to make a stool or a sitting furniture. Another question that has come before for the psychometric round. So now, if I haven't told you what a psychometric round is, again the doodling round, where they want to check that how your brain is working, what are you thinking about, what things are more important for you, and that's why you are doing doodling. So again 12 frames for doodling, and you have to write a caption. And another question which was that you had to carve a memento of 10 into 10 centimeters on the topic of 50 years of NID from thermocol, and the carving must depict 50 years of NID and the NID logo in proportion. More questions that have come before is to make a bottle hanging arrangement found in the Indian Railways wagon. So basically in Indian Railways, inside you have that thing where you can hang the water bottle, so you had to design that. Then a top door mechanism found in the door of wagon. So again in trains you have that locking system, so you had to design that. Materials provided were plastic sheets, nail pins, and fevistick. And one more question of previous year which I can tell you is that you had to make a wristwatch out of the following materials that they have given, and you must show the latching arrangement of it. All the features must be shown: dial, minute, hour hand, time setting. These things have to be shown. So yeah, this is a little bit of what happens in NID studio test. If you want to join our classes, please reach out to me. I hope this helps.